Hey guys, Nick Gabriel and Brian Rose here from London Real, and we're just queuing up this week's episode. We had the Barefoot Doctor in studio.
Yeah, he was an excellent guy, 57
Really
years old, tan, knew everything about Taoism, meditation, martial arts.
Walks around barefoot.
Walks around barefoot.
Healed over 200,000 people.
200,000 people healed. He's got some big concert / heal fest going on at Wembley in December called The Big Om. And he'll be talking about that, and just a very cool cat. Check it out. It's coming up right now.
God spoke and said, "Let there be light, let there be light." Sound came first. This is not just some hippie notion. Our modern quantum physicists have discovered that the universe is built on a sound wave operating at 50 octaves below human hearing.
Good afternoon and welcome to London Real. My name is Brian Rose. Joining me as usual is Mr. Nick Gabriel. And today with us in studio is Mr. Stephen Russell, a.k.a. the Barefoot Doctor.
Hello.
And we are actually all barefoot today. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not.
Because it's hot outside. Unseasonably hot.
You know, I actually walk around barefoot a lot.
Yeah.
I just feel comfortable that way. You do too, right?
No one's spent a day walking around London barefoot, which was a false move.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you get...
I probably have hepatitis B from that experience, to be honest. It was disgusting.
Really?
Came back, my feet were black and had pieces of chewing gum on them. It was horrible.
Why did you do that?
I don't know. I think I was at someone's house and I forgot my flip-flops or something happened. It was one of those crazy nights, you know?
Wow. Is there a story behind your name? And also, could you tell everyone about yourself? I'm curious about the name as well. It seems to suit you.
What, Stephen?
No comment.
Well, a Barefoot Doctor is an old Chinese metaphor for a humble healer. Okay. And they were mostly Taoists, and they were mostly women, and they were like medicine women who walked around the countryside. Their job was, as well as giving acupuncture and herbs and doing stuff to fix people, was actually to keep people in good spirits. And they would sing songs and tell stories and do magic and do spells and all kinds of stuff like that. So they were really responsible for the well-being in general of people. And they did it out of love, so they were looked after wherever they went. Because me, I've been a martial artist since I was 11 and trained in psychotherapy and then trained in Chinese medicine. And I'm a musician and a writer and a lyricist and a storyteller and a magician. And I always used to work barefoot. And about 1989, I'd just been bankrupted by, well, I would say why, it's irrelevant, but I got bankrupted by my first wife. And
I find that behind all great men is a bankruptcy,
yeah.
By the way.
And I couldn't, my record deal with Polygram, I was about to sign a new deal, and I couldn't do it with my name, so I needed a name, a performing name. And I was actually treating the rock critic from The Observer at the time. And I used to work barefoot because it's traditional to do that. You know, you can climb on the table and press people's backs. And it's respectful to the patient to not wear shoes, actually.
Okay. Is this massage or acupressure?
Acupressure, healing and all that.
Always barefoot? Okay.
Yeah, traditionally. And also it stops your feet getting sweaty if you're standing there all day, you know, wearing trainers or whatever. And he said, well, Barefoot Doctor, you're the Barefoot Doctor. And it was like, yeah, man, that's cool. And that's how it began.
What year was that?
1989, that name.
And it started out as more of a music handle, and the name of you as a performer.
Yeah, well, actually, really, that's kind of always been what my thing has been. I mean, the healing was always just a day job for me. Although, it's a great gift, and I'm incredibly grateful to have it and have helped, you know, who knows how many people. But I treated about 200,000 people in my life. Wow. I calculate roughly, because you work it out by how many a week. I stopped doing that as a job about 12 years ago. Because the book writing and the music stuff and all that was just taking up too much time. My interest, although I love healing people, it's a beautiful thing to do. I mean, it's a service, you know. It's frustrating because my thing has always been I want to help the whole world. I love it here so much. I find the whole experience so potentially incredibly exciting. And I love people. Potentially, I mean, because there's times I really get pissed off with people, as we all do. But generally, my love for my fellows is so great, and the joy that I naturally default to is something that I know we all can. And I see so much suffering around that's so needless. And these tools that I've learned over the decades are so powerful that my thing has always been to teach them to everybody. but then because I'm not, I hated school and I can't bear organised situations, so I'm a rebel and an anarchist basically by nature, and I felt that the kind of people I would appeal to would be like that as well, and that wouldn't be the kind of people that would want to go to a workshop or a regular class in anything. I mean, I'm just lucky I started martial arts as a kid, because I'd never have had the discipline to do it as an adult, you know.
What did martial arts give you, or what do you think you would have been like if you didn't have that?
Well, they keep me alive, that's for sure, both physically, mentally and emotionally. Definitely, it gives me a stability of mind, physical health and flexibility, gets rid of all the aches and pains and the stiffness. And, you know, like I'm 57 and I've lived it pretty hard, my life. And I'm doing all right, you know. I'm not suggesting that I'm a paragon of health, but considering how I've lived it, I feel good. And it could change any moment. I could die tomorrow. But as it stands, I've got amazing amounts of energy, and I'm able to focus and do things that I would not be able to do otherwise, work-wise. It takes my fear away, or rather, it enables me to walk through my fear into doing anything, no matter how big. I mean, I'm afraid of doing big things, of course, but it doesn't stop me, and that's definitely the martial arts. That's definitely, you know, because you walk into a competition or a street situation. I mean, I don't know about you, but it's fucking scary. Excuse my language. But it doesn't stop you doing what you got to do. You do it because you know how to do it. But there is fear, usually just before, actually. I know I'm going off on a tangent.
It's all interesting.
But it happened actually just around here fairly recently. I was...
You calling my neighbourhood bad?
No. There's no good and bad. It's all relative. Goswell Road on about 12 o'clock at night. I'm walking down the street. It's sort of wintry. It's dark. It's cold. There are two guys of about 25, about 100 yards away, 150 metres away, going at each other on the side of the road, and they were good. You could see they knew how to punch. They weren't just doing like that mad flailing street fighting thing. They were really good, punching well. And I thought they were just messing around, but as I got closer, it was quite clear that they were having a proper fight. And the voice that I listened to, there's this deep voice that comes from somewhere, and it just said, "You got to go and stop it." And I went, myself, the local me, went, "Oh no!" I said, "Oh please, no! I don't want to. I want to cross the road."
There's some statistic like it's the peacemakers that always get hurt, you know, in that situation. But you went in anyway.
Well, yeah. But just before I got there, what was really fascinating, before I walked up to them, it said to me, "Watch out for the mobile phone, the cell phone." And about a second after that message came through, the guy who was losing dropped his phone out of his pocket onto the ground. So I kind of walk up a bit like Peter Falk in Columbo, like really like a sort of doddery old guy. And I go, "Excuse me." As they're really going at each other, "Excuse me, you dropped your phone." And I held him the phone. And they go, "What?" I said, "Look, you dropped your phone." As if they weren't fighting, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they'd stopped. And then as soon as they stopped, I rose to my height and I said, "You guys all right now?" And they went, there was some kind of patois thing, and they went off in different directions. And that,
Wow, that's a cool story.
but there was fear. There was fear, you know. There was fear, definitely. The local me, is a coward. I didn't want to do that. I didn't get into a fight. But, you know, that thing comes in. And if it doesn't come in, I wouldn't do anything. I'd walk away. But it comes in. Recently in a club in London, I was with my friend Spencer, and he was DJing, and I got up in the booth with him, and this guy started on me, "Yeah, come and dance with us down here," like as if, "Who are you to get up in the DJ booth? You know, come and dance with the people." I said, "No, man, I come here to, you know, do this." And he turns the monitor, the speaker in my ear, and it's really loud, and it hurt, you know. And I turned it around. I said, "Easy." And then he starts prodding me with his toy rubber saxophone thing, which didn't hurt or anything, but it was pissing me off. And I didn't think I was going to do this because I was in such a sweet mood. I was so calm and tranquil. Suddenly, and I don't know how I did it, honestly don't, I just went like that with my hand, like a snake. And I had his fingers in a lock. And I honestly don't know what I did. I don't know how it worked. And I just saying to him, "Now just stop." And the voice was like a volcano coming out of the ground. And he went, "Look at that." And I kind of let go, and he fell back into it. I never saw him for the rest of the evening. And I said to Spencer, "Did you hear that?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "Did you hear that voice?" He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Who was that?" He said, "It was you." I said, "Man, I don't know where that came from. I don't know where it came from."
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Stephen, you spoke earlier of you said that there was a lot of suffering in the world that you perceived as needless. Could you explain some examples of that, and also why you feel that they're needless?
Well, look, I know that everything operates from a kind of animal instinctual level, and it's all about power and control on in one aspect of life. What's going on in Syria and has been going on in Syria for about a year now, and there's at least 10,000 people have died from it, and thousands of people been imprisoned and tortured. And there's like stories of 16-year-old boys screaming in prison who've just had half their face sliced off in torture. And it's stuff like that, and their families and what goes on. And that's all because of one guy having to uphold the family name, the family honour, probably for his mother's sake, because she's still alive and she's a very powerful woman, in his father's memory. And who knows what other reasons are guiding him to be that way. And I'm sure, as a guy who was trained as a doctor, an eye doctor in the UK, he must have compassion. He must know that this is really like crazy. But he's gone for that, okay, we're sticking in there. We're not letting the people take this over. We're going to put a firm foot down. That, to me, could have been avoided. I mean, it could have been avoided. If it was somebody could have possibly gone in there and say, look, you could get out now, take the money and run, go live in Argentina or something.
I mean, where can they live? The problem with an example like Gaddafi in Libya is there's no way out for a lot of these guys.
Unless they go out early.
Very early.
Very early.
If they fight to the death, they're going to be fined by like a war tribunal or something. So like in this case in Syria, I think he's just going to try to hold out until...
Yeah.
But it's bad there. It is bad there.
Do you believe in karma?
Yes, I don't know that any of us really understand what it is properly, because I don't think it's just a simple punishment and reward system. I think that's a bit of a simplistic way of seeing it, because where the tradition comes from that is the belief in multiple lives. And so somebody does something really bad this life and does seem to get away with it. So, and where's the karma? But that's not taking into account what happens in the next life in that system. Same with kids who get born with horrible illnesses and just have an awful life and die young. It could be that something happened in the life before. Who knows? But I mean, I had this really wise friend who's dead now, alas, a really beautiful man. And I went to him once. I was in my late 30s, and I said to him, Frank, he goes, yes. What do you think at my current stage of spiritual development? Would it be bad karma for me to have an affair with a married woman? Because I've met this woman and she was really hot and she really liked me and blah, blah, blah. And I was sort of playing with it. And there was this long silence, and he looked up and he goes, how do you know it wouldn't be bad karma not to?
Wow.
And it was like, And that still kept me thinking. I was still thinking about it. Because it might well have been that that's what their marriage needed to make it spark back into life. You know, who knows? Who are we to judge?
Or just put it out of its misery.
Yeah, I mean, the moral thing is the Taoist tradition that I work with doesn't actually believe in morals. It believes in a set of natural ethics, of the decency that arises from within as you develop through your practice.
Can you talk about Taoism? Because I don't know much about it, and I don't know if many people do.
Yeah, well, Taoism is the original life system or philosophy from ancient China. Predates Buddhism and Confucianism. It's approximately about 12,000 years old. And it's a very simple but profound philosophical template that says that everything in this universe is basically one consciousness expressing itself in myriad forms. So that and everything that we see, everything manifest, is like the cloak of it, but it is operating on the subatomic level. And it does this because it's bored. It's going to sit for eternity as one presence. He wants somebody to play with, so it creates stuff and things and people to play with, and it puts amnesia into them, so they forget that's who they are. Because otherwise, there wouldn't be any game of hide and seek to play. And as soon as it has this urge to create stuff, there's not just one. Now there's two, because there's the one, and then there's the urge and the stuff it's creating. So you get this duality. As soon as you get duality, you get a play of opposites, the yin and the yang. And these cycle round each other. The yin refers to everything that's contractive and difficult and dark and the yang refers to everything that's expansive and easy and beautiful and bright. And these two cycle round each other at every level of existence. So you have your 7 years of famine and your 7 years of plenty. You have your easy days and your difficult days. You have day and you have night, and so on and so forth. You have the in-breath and the out-breath. And then out of the friction that occurs through this cycling of the yin and the yang comes what they call the 5 elements. Now, what's really, and then the 5 elements give rise to everything that we see. They're the God particles that they found at CERN. They've been looking for the one God particle that makes things exist.
Did they find it?
Well, no. So far, they found 5.
Okay.
That's what's really interesting. They have found the 5. So everything in Taoism is really corroborated with quantum physics. There was a guy called Fritjof Capra who wrote a book called The Tao of Physics. He was a physicist in mid-70s.
Yeah, I actually read that book a couple of years ago. It was very interesting.
It's very interesting.
Yeah,
And it's fascinating because it really is. The mystics in those thousands of years ago seem to know all this stuff already. Anyhow, when you know that everything cycles, you stop investing so much in the good times. And if anything, you invest more in the bad times because you know they're going to swing around to the good times again. But basically, you stop identifying with that part of you that suffers or is elated. So you observe more with serenity as things unfold. Not necessarily good, not necessarily bad.
Isn't that so difficult to teach in someone in modern day? Because Nick and I talk about this a lot on the show, and we try to have that theory, but when you're down in the dumps, it's really hard to be like, okay, this is just going to be a valley and I'm going to have a mountain because of it.
Yes, it's hard, but it's not impossible because, I'm able to do it. And I suffer the same throes of ups and downs as everybody else.
Are you not affected by the everyday events in your life anymore? Have you reached that point where, I don't know, you get a call saying your aunt's got lymphoma or whatever, and that just, are you just completely level, or do you still respond to the emotions that arise, or what is happening with you?
Well, no, what my experience of it is that, yes, of course I'm affected by news, good and bad, but my ability to get off the panic or the shock is much quicker. It grows all the time. So I'm able to stabilize again much faster.
I've noticed that with meditation as well, Brian.
It's helping, yeah.
Yeah,
I think
I'm not as emotionally volatile as I used to be.
Do you have other tools that you use?
Yeah, well, actually, it's interesting you said meditation, because really the Taoist practice is all really hinging around how to meditate. And they have a very, very clear, pragmatic approach to meditating. Sort of quite a systematic approach to setting your mind in the right position inside your brain, getting your breathing working in a certain way, holding your posture in a certain way, and that elicits the optimal state. And then the Tai Chi, the Xing Yi, the Bagua, they're the 3 martial arts I do, and Qigong, which is the kind of exercise version of those, are really just meditation in movement.
Interesting.
So you learn, but the whole training is how to be meditating all the time. So that as I'm talking to you, I'm aware there's a personality and it's speaking. But I'm also aware of what's behind it, and I'm coming from that, which is the sort of the love, the spirit, whatever you want to call it, the Tao, really. And when I look at you and when I look at you, I'm seeing the Tao in you. I'm not seeing I'm seeing the surface, and you're both very handsome men. So it's hard to miss that.
I knew it wasn't just us that thought that. Gosh. Right.
You can come back anytime.
Yes.
Thank you. But I'm seeing your spirits. I'm feeling your spirit. So we're connecting. That means that we naturally will start connecting with each other at a deeper level. And then what arises will be more profound and valuable for us and for anyone who's watching this. And that's kind of what the Taoist thing's about. It's like doing magic all the time, really.
Do you teach a lot of this? Is this at the core of what you teach?
This is what I teach. I mean, my sensible side of my work is doing workshops and writing books and run a few quite big websites with online trainings and stuff. That's my sort of responsible, sensible side. And then the entertaining side, which is the bit I really love, because I love the other as well, don't get me wrong, but the excitement of doing events is where, especially where there's music and dance and chanting and sound, because sound's one of my biggest things. That's what I love.
Yeah, that was really shocking because I went to, barefootdoctorglobal.com. Is that what you would call more of your workshop book side?
Well, yeah, that I have to say is in the process of being totally rebuilt at the moment, because it is a mess, I know.
Okay.
I know, it's very old.
Because my first experience with you was kind of more of this spiritual guy, and then I saw the whole music thing into it, and I was just like, whoa, this guy's really flipping the script a whole lot.
I didn't even know about the music side until you told me 30 minutes ago.
And then I saw the ad on YouTube for, we might as well talk about it. Is it Om Fest?
It's called the Big Om.
The Big Om, sorry, the Big Om. Although Om Fest sounds cool. And that, you brought this whole kind of musical thing into it, which it wasn't an obvious segue to me, and I was wondering how you could explain that.
Well, actually, in terms of Taoism,
cool.
the Taoists use sound to heal the organs. That's one of the things I teach. That's what I've just been in the Black Forest teaching a workshop in, sound healing for the organs. It's an ancient technique of, like, for example, if you want to boost the energy in your spleen and make your blood stronger, you'd make a particular movement, but while you did it, you make the sound you'd visualize that sound wrapping itself around
I felt
the organ.
that in my spleen. Seriously.
And it does, at least it gets your mind to go there, and your mind goes, the blood follows.
Which is half the battle, or more.
Yeah, or more, yeah. Or everything, really.
So it's a self sound making you use sounds on your own, not external sounds.
Not necessarily. You can. I mean, I can use it to, like, just then I can put sound into somebody, and that will help heal. But anyway, I actually, when I was 6, I was lying on my bed one afternoon here in London, looking at the clouds go by, and for no reason whatsoever, and I honestly don't know why I was chosen for this to occur to, that I heard what the physicists call the background radiation wave, which is what the Indian yogis call the Om, and it operates at 50 octaves below human hearing, and it's the sound that existence is built on. So according
it's the sound with which God created the universe.
Exactly, right? Yeah. You know, in the first line in Genesis is God spoke and said, "Let there be light." So there was sound, and then there was light.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that.
And this is common to the Taoist tradition as well. In fact, to all the ancient traditions, sound is really important. That's why the yogis go, Wom. They do that because it elicits the connection with the real sound, which is much deeper than that. And I heard it for however long it was, a split second or so. And it was like, I wasn't surprised. It was because I was always being quite awake to the invisible world. But it was like, a 6-year-old mind was like, that's God talking. I didn't know what it was saying, but it was a sense of like, we all have this connection. We all have this connection through sound. If your mission in the world is to remind everybody. And I really had that really clear at 6 years old. That's what I was here to do. Mm-hmm. My dad also, he was a really great jazz drummer, and I learned to drum when I was like 2 years old. Just picked up a guitar when I was 4, piano when I was 5, and I just started playing music from a very early age. And
so it was kind of a music bringing up with a lot of alternative thought, or a lot of
no, just music. There was no alternative thought at all. No, I was the alternative thought
because
bringer.
you're English, you're British,
yes,
you're a
British.
Londoner.
I'm a Londoner,
but
North Londoner.
You're not very British.
Yeah, it's quite unusual to find a British or someone from London.
I saw an interview with him on YouTube, and the first question was like, "Okay, how did you become this guy? Because you're not what I would expect."
You'd expect some hippie from California to do something like this, right?
Okay, true.
Well, I mean, look, there is. I have to point out is that there is a tradition in England of what they call the English eccentric. So England does actually spawn quite a few real characters.
True.
But we tend to kind of get our snapshot of the culture from the general population, which isn't really that indicative, because some amazing people have come out of England. Think of the Beatles, for example.
David Bowie,
the Stones. I mean, all sorts of people. Some really fascinating people. So I don't want to be arrogant or anything, but I would include myself amongst them, or I'd like to think I would be included among those kind of characters. So, and I have travelled. I mean, I've travelled pretty much all my life. Well, all my adult life. I've been mostly living in other countries. I lived in New Mexico for 4 years with the Native Americans. I've spent a lot of time in Central and South America, and Australia, and South Africa, and India.
Is that a big part of who you are? Your travel?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was my first real love was a Colombian girl as well. So I was introduced to that Latin American culture quite early too, and that shoulder shaking thing, and that joie de vivre. And spent a lot of time in France and Spain, and I lived in Ibiza for 4 years, and in Catalonia for 4 years. So you get to learn that you've got to come out of yourself and be passionate. I've always been passionate anyway. So the English thing is to not be passionate.
Right.
Or if you are passionate, you do it with set piece emotional gestures like yes and all that sort of stuff that they learn off American movies, really. But it's not natural for English people to express their feelings genuinely, because for some reason this island makes people pretend. Not the Celts around the edges in Wales and Scotland and Ireland, but the English. I think it's an imprint from the Norman culture, the feudal system. There's this sense of you've got to keep pretending all the time. Okay. Even today with the emancipated time that we're in, people still pretend a lot.
Very repressed culture.
It's natural to repress your emotions until you have a few drinks, and then it almost goes overboard to the other side.
Exactly. That's why it's a country of alcoholics.
I almost see it's a lot like the Japanese in that way. They're just very repressed socially, but when they have a few drinks, they go overboard almost to where they express themselves over the top.
To balance the Tao, right?
Almost the same with the English. You see the Italians seem to be emotional all the time, so when they have a few drinks, they don't seem to get it out, that release. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but that's something I observed about
I was just going to say that it's not a criticism in any way, because I think there's something really special about the English culture. Yes. I mean, as somebody who travels a lot and pretty much come here really as a visitor, most of the time. I do really miss it a lot.
It's
when
nice
I'm
to
not
come
here.
back,
And
isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing culture. It's very dynamic. The people have a quality that I've not seen anywhere else.
Something a friend of mine says that is one of the first things that springs to mind whenever I think of England is, he says that if you think about what they actually did, is these guys on this little island pretty much got on ships and went and took over the whole world. And come on, there's got to be something special to that.
Yeah, and the Industrial
that's
Revolution. I mean,
incredible.
that's just this whole island was
There you go.
just so impressive. The things that happened, but it is interesting culture. You said when you spent time in Ibiza in the south of France, you said you had to come out of yourself. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Could you explain what you mean by that?
Well, first of all, I had to learn to speak Catalan when I was living in Catalonia, and Spanish as well, for when I was in South America, for example, and had to get into a different way of being. Because, well, anyway, no, it wasn't like I had to. It was just a relief to be able to. Okay. You know, you hang out with people from Argentina, and it's like, wow, what a bliss. I can actually be the natural person that I am and say, I love you, man, you're beautiful. You know, you can't do that in England so well.
No. I remember it was funny. I worked in the city. I came here in 97. I worked there for a couple of years. I came back in 2002, and I walked across a dealing room floor, and I hadn't seen a buddy of mine in a while. And I hugged him in the middle of this dealing room floor in front of 500 city traders. And they almost stopped on their phones. They were like, what do you guys think you're doing? You know, it was just a hug, like two guys. Hey, I haven't seen you in a few years. And it was just stop the presses.
Wow, that's not cool.
But it's just, I guess it's just indicative of the culture. It's just that expression of emotion is not encouraged.
It's not encouraged. It comes from the parents and the parents' parents. But it's changing. It's changing. People are becoming a little bit more loose here, I think.
Stephen, how would you respond to a scientific materialist that would challenge you by saying, you know, this is all in your head. There's no proof for any of this. There's nothing that we can prove except what we can touch, hear, feel, and taste.
Yeah, and sounds don't heal. It's not been proven. All that stuff. What would you say to those?
And again, I'm not challenging you because I'm personally of the belief that what you're saying is true. I'm quite interested how you deal with people like that.
Well, so they could well be right. I don't care anyway. It might be true. I mean, I often think to myself, maybe I'm totally mad. And I think that usually the answer is, yeah, you probably are. So what? It's good fun. It's kind of working, so it doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, it works. It works for me. That much I know. I'm not really interested in feeling like I need to justify it to anybody. So when I present this stuff, I always say, look, I don't know if this is true or not, but it works for me. So you try. If it works for you, then great. If it doesn't matter. However, that's me being like kind of, you know, the simple Taoist. There is proof that meditation changes the structure of your brain. That we know that. That's now been proven. There's also proof that sound, sound chanting does create some change in the electromagnetic field. This has been proven as well. And I think you'll probably find that whether it's been proven yet or it's about to be proven, most of the stuff that the Taoists talk about generally seems to be provable. And but like I say, it's so obvious when you try the stuff out. I mean, you know what it's like when you're doing your own practice. You know, if like this exercise strengthens the arm, you do the exercise, you feel your arm stronger, and you don't need proof. It's the same with this stuff. It's just like try it and see. And everyone's entitled to their position. It doesn't matter. It's only positions anyway, really. So I don't mind. I've never been a proselytizer or I've never been on a crusade with any of this stuff.
Okay, that's a pretty good answer.
It's a very good answer,
Yeah.
and I think it's true. Once you do it yourself, like meditation, we found. I mean, once you see the impact it makes on your life, it's pretty profound. You know, it's funny. I have a lot of people, especially in this age, when it comes to constantly being online, constantly simulated with YouTube and Facebook, that people that say, "I just can't meditate." I get there and I spend 30 seconds and I'm thinking about the laundry and everything, and obviously, I know that you can get through that. But what do you tell people when they come to you with something like that? I can't do it. I'm thinking too much. How do you deal with something like that?
Well, what I've done is I've broken it all down to an 8-step process, which I could run through really quickly here. Yeah, basically, it starts off that we're held in thrall to the external world. The people who can't stop thinking are held in thrall by what's going on out there and what they're perceiving to be their position in the game of life in relation to what's going on out there. And it's constantly this dialogue. We all have it in the front of the brain.
Right. And it's not just you're watching it, it's your position in it.
Your position in it, yeah.
That's why you're constantly vested in it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
And that elicits feelings, and the feelings come up in your belly and your chest. That's where we feel like the fear and the anguish and all that excitement. It's all in the front of the body. And we tend to be in the front of our bodies. We're sort of held so enthralled by it all that we're all up in the front. So the first thing I tell people to do is just tilt your body back a bit and feel yourself tipping into the back of you. And people can feel that. And now you're occupying your back. You can feel your shoulder blades, the back of your head, the back of your pelvic area. And now you're in command of what's going on in the front. You're presiding over it. You can see the feelings are happening there. You can see the thoughts are running there, but you're not in them anymore. So now you've reclaimed yourself. That's the beginning. Secondly, I tell them, think about your belly button, just because that centers you. That's in the middle of your system, your physical body anyway. So you just organize your thoughts around your belly button for a moment, and then stop holding your breath, because people do that all the time, and let the breath flow freely. And if I've got time with them, I'll tell them how to breathe properly by letting the belly swell as the breath comes in and pulling it back to the spine to push the air out. Otherwise, just breathe slowly and softly, because what I explain to people is that when you slow the breath down, you slow your mind down. And when you soften the breath and make it like silk, it makes the mind like silk. And then when the mind's like silk, the thoughts become nice and bright naturally.
Nick is doing all of these things right now. I just noticed him. He was like...
And then you expand your posture.
I am too.
Yeah, no, me too. You expand your posture, because we tend to cramp ourselves a bit with the posture. So you visualize the crown of your head being lifted by an invisible thread. You drop your shoulders and broaden them. You lift your breastbone a bit. You broaden your hips just with your mind, and suddenly your frame is a bit bigger, and then your consciousness is a bit bigger as a result. Next is you soften all the muscles from your head to your toes, because if you soften the muscles, the mind goes relaxed. So you just look where you're holding the back of the neck, the face, the shoulders, the buttocks, wherever, and you soften it. Next, you sink your weight. Because we're pulling away from the ground all the time, because we're bipeds and we sort of evolved that way. And we don't like the messy shit of life, so we kind of pull away from the ground to be in the lofty sphere of the intellect. But this is like saying, stop doing that, and just surrender to gravity. Because your spine is elongated, you can afford to let the weight sink. Then you've got gravitas. You've arrived on the planet.
Gravitas. That's an interesting word. Yeah.
I love that word too. And then you tilt your head back again. Just tilt the head back a bit and feel your mind slide back along the floor of your skull as if it's a cave in there. And now your mind is resting up against the rear interior wall of your skull, and your eyes will be closed, and you're looking into the big dark void there instead. And there are no thoughts at that point. The next thing is to connect you to all of creation, to all your fellows, because you can't do this stuff in isolation. It's weird that. It's not going to help, really. Ultimately, we're all connected, and you've got to feel that. You open your chest up. You just visualize your chest sliding open like a pair of sliding doors. And there at the core is your beautiful, gorgeous heart, the innocent you, that is just naturally exuding your love, your innate goodness, and receiving that of others as well. So you're now connected in a nice, beautiful, kind of loving way to everything around you. But there's no thoughts. You're just sitting there with your mind in the back of your head. And as thoughts do come up, which they will, like, look at me sitting here with no thoughts, you watch them go like clouds in the sky from one side to the other, each one. You don't follow them, you just see them go past. And it's a discipline. And if you can manage I tell people to do that for 4 minutes, no more. Don't try and do more. And if you can just manage 1 second of no thought, that's enough to keep you going 24 hours. It's like you've rested your mind then. And that's it. And then that grows. It becomes addictive. And you want to do it more and more. And eventually, the better you get at doing that, you find yourself able to do it pretty much all the time, walking down the street.
Would you say you're in a state of no mind like most of your waking life?
No, I don't know. I have not quantified how much of it is spent that way. No, I think most of my waking life I'm thinking, but what I've learned is from the practice, I'm not involved with the thoughts that much. So I watch them happen more. I don't get caught up in trying to work it out so much. So stuff comes up and I go, oh, well, that's interesting. That's interesting. Oh, I must do something about that. Yep. And so on. Because I'm working a lot.
It's detachment, basically.
Yes, detachment. And that kind of fear of how am I doing in the game of life. So that's the big one. Am I winning? Am I losing? Am I winning? Am I losing?
That's everyone's big one.
That's everyone's big one. Yeah, like when I think I'm losing, it's like, well, okay, they talk about invest in loss in Taoism. Just invest in loss. So just let go. If the worst comes to the worst, the thing doesn't work. So then what? Okay, so I get really ill. I'm on my own. Nobody loves me and I die. Okay, so what? I mean, it's not. You're just one individual. It's happened to so many times to so many people throughout history. It's just the way it is. It doesn't matter. There's no point living in fear of that. Can I deal with that? Yeah, fuck it, I can deal with that. And then I can move on. And it happens really quickly, all that process now. That's what I get from it, rather than being and then getting caught in the panic, which you can't operate when you're like that.
Brian, did you ever watch that? Did I send you that movie Do Easy by Gus Van Sant?
No, I don't think you did.
There's maybe you've seen it, Stephen. There's a filmmaker called Gus Van Sant.
Yeah, sure.
You know who I'm talking about. Yeah. But one of his first projects was a short film called Do Easy. It was, I think, maybe 11 minutes long, and it's in black and white, shot in the 80s. and it follows the story of this retired colonel who lives alone at home. And the whole point of the film was that everything you do in your physical life, the most efficient way to do it is also the easiest way to do it. So the whole thing is a metaphor for being present. So when you wash the dishes, you wash them in as an efficient manner as possible, using just enough water and stacking them nice and neatly, as opposed to just like flopping them down in the drying rack. Or when you open a door, you open it just as far as you need to walk through, and then you reach and grab the exact spot you need to hold and close it with just enough force. And it's interesting, you recommend you do this in everything in your everyday life, and I've been trying to do it. You don't always catch yourself doing it, but when you do, like, life's just so much more fun. You're so much more in the moment and aware of what's happening. And you can also suddenly see just how inefficient you are when you're not doing that. Like when you just get out of bed and your mind's in another place completely, and you just stumble like down the stairs of your apartment, or you just, you're somewhere else. It's a completely different experience when you approach life with that do easy mentality. Is it similar to the Tao? Is that?
Yes, I would say that's the perfect expression of it. There was this old story of the king's cook who had the same knife for 19 years, the same carving knife, and had never had to sharpen it. And when he was asked why, he said that he was able to find the spaces in between the ligaments of the cow's joints and just do 4 incisions without meeting resistance, and the whole carcass would fall open. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's a lovely metaphor. It's just that you just find that where there's no resistance at all. But that does require incredible sensitivity. I'd done my practice yesterday morning in Freiburg. I'd worked really hard, and I'd done 2 days of workshops in German, and I felt steamrolled. But nonetheless, I'd done my Xingyi, I'd done my meditation. I was there. It was a beautiful sunny day.
How long is meditation for you? What do you try for every day?
Oh no, I don't even time it. But I mean, my whole practice session is about an hour and a half.
Okay.
I could get it done in half an hour if I'm really rushed, but an hour and a half that's what I like.
Daily, if you can.
Yeah, no, it's got to be daily.
Okay.
No, I will never miss it. But it's about half an hour, 20 minutes of meditating, of standing still. I don't sit, I stand, and go through the various internal processes. And then I walked out of the hotel to go somewhere, came back in, and the glass sliding doors, the automatic doors were closing, and I thought, well, they'll open. And I walked in and they didn't open. They closed right on my head really hard as well. And it was like, woof, I'm still feeling it today. And that was like kind of, wow, you're such a bumbling fool. But that's okay too. You got to laugh at that.
Yeah.
Wow, is that a metaphor somewhere?
Must be,
right? Is diet a big thing for you? Nick and I have just been on a big diet for the last couple of weeks before we did an ayahuasca retreat. But do you think about diet a lot? Is diet part of, or is it completely separate?
No, they do. There's a whole sort of Taoist diet thing, but no, it's not. It just doesn't interest me that much. I mean, the basic rule is get a nice healthy balance of the different colour foods, the different taste of foods, the hot and the cold, and so on, and generally go for what your body feels like rather than your mind. And if you do the Tai Chi and you do all that stuff every day, you tend to not want to eat too much rubbish anyway.
Interesting.
I mean, I don't want to eat at McDonald's. I don't want to, because I know that I'm going to feel ill a day or two later, or my energy's going to flatten from it. So I tend to get drawn to good, healthy energy. It's food with energy in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, talk about the big Om. It's at Wembley, right?
Yeah, Wembley Arena.
This is big, right?
It is, relatively.
Okay. Talk about it. It's coming up in December, right?
Yes, 12-12-12, Wembley Arena, the big Om. And it's basically...
That's not the Mayan calendar. That's like the 21st of December, right?
Yeah, that was the reason we did it on the 12-12-12. Well, because it looks much better. We were going to do it on the 21st, but 21-12-12 didn't look good. 12-12-12 looked beautiful. So we made it... And then we figured as well that if everybody's is thinking that it's the end of the world, they're not going to want to be in London that day. So we thought we'd better do it before the end of the world.
Do you think there's a lot of negativity going on for that month? I don't subscribe to any of it, but do you think there will be?
It doesn't seem to be. It seemed to be last year people were into it more. This year
it's not going to be the end of the world. That's bullshit.
Well, it could be, but so what? Anyways,
yeah, there it
good
is.
party,
Taoism.
Who remembers Y2K?
Yeah, no, I think
that, there were going to be planes falling out of the sky and traffic lights weren't going to work. What a load of crap.
True. Yeah. Made a lot of money off of it.
Do I think that? I mean, there is. Yeah, I mean, there's people invested a lot of money in safe places to go to. There's a place in the Pyrenees that people have been buying and renting places ready and stockpiling food there, and there's places all over the world where people are doing that. So it's not like people aren't into it. There's a lot of people invested in that possibility. And they might be right, who knows? But my thing is like, let's do everything we can to make it beautiful until the very last moment anyway, whenever that might be, because we're all going to die at some point anyway. So it really is a celebration of human evolution, this, and it's a way of doing. It's something since I heard that when I was 6. It's something I've wanted to do, is to get large groups of people chanting, but not in some boring hippie new age way. There's be the best electronic music playing. We'll have the best electronic acts, including my own one. I'm not going to say the lineup yet because we're still in the process of confirming it all. But I lived in Ibiza 4 years and I know the scene pretty well. It will be the nicest tech house and dubstep.
I mean, I want to go to this thing.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And the company we're using to do all the production is they're amazing guys, and the lighting and the visual effects are going to be pretty unprecedented. What we're working on. I mean, once the budgetary realities sit in, they probably have to be pared back a bit. But the vision that we've got is pretty amazing, actually. The experience will be great. And there'll be gurus and Tai Chi masters with Tai Chi troops dancing, and street dancers and free runners, and a guy who makes people laugh for 5 minutes, and all sorts of little interventions over the beats and I'll be intervening until all the way through till my own set at the end. The idea is it's like a shamanistic journey, because I lived with the Native Americans for 4 years, and that was my thing. I was learning how to be a shaman.
That was in New Mexico.
In New Mexico,
okay.
But I then translated that into the Western idiom, into the modern idiom. So it's kind of like an electronic version of that. And wow. I've done it in Amnesia in Ibiza with 6,000 people, but only very shortly, only momentarily, because it was part of somebody else's night.
Like, so, 10 minutes or 20 minutes?
No,
or 5 minutes?
No. I mean, I was on for about overall an hour over the course of a night.
Okay.
On the mic with beats and stuff, but to get people chanting for like about half a minute, because it's Ibiza, man, and it wasn't my night, so it was just real risk and doing it and then out, and so I know it works. It's an amazing sensation. You get a lot of people making the sound, and then
great club, by the way. Amnesia. And it used to be really big, right? It used to be the best club or one of the best clubs.
Well, it depends what night's on there. Yeah. It's the same with all of them now. It depends who's on at the time. And so this will be that kind of celebration, but it will be a guided narrative. There'll be a shamanistic kind of direction to it, and it will result eventually in 12,000 people being in the same intention just for that while, and with the same kind of vision of sending out a sound wave to heal the world. And I mean, even if you get 20 people chanting together, chanting an Om, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and you get 12,000 people doing it. It will be amazing. I mean, it really will be amazing. And so that's the idea for the big Om. And then the next thing will be stadiums, because I want to do it with 100,000 people. I want to do that all over, especially in America. I want to do it at Madison Square Gardens and so on and so on.
And is it purely a show, or is there interactivity?
Oh, it's full interactivity. I mean, there'll be like Qigong moments where I get everybody just to stop with the beat and start swaying in a certain way and feel the Qi in the hands, and there'll be a lot of interactivity.
That sounds really cool, man. We gotta
go.
Right?
Yeah, we should go, right?
Are we VIP? Are we VIP Barefoot?
Oh, absolutely.
There you go.
Okay, that'd be cool. No, I like the whole idea of this. How would people find out more about it?
If you go to thebigom.org, thebigom.org.
Okay. I'll flash that on screen as well, thebigom.org.
And then you watch the animation and I'll tell you all about it, and you can get tickets now if you want as well.
Wow. Okay. And can you tell us more about what Ibiza was like when you were there? And then I want to hear about the Native Americans. When were you in Ibiza?
I left there pretty much about 15 months ago, actually.
Okay, so you were there for 4 years recently?
Yeah.
Wow.
That is a proper vacation. 4 years in Ibiza.
In your 50s?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a vacation. I mean, I was pretty well. I was doing 2 gigs a week, all-night gigs in the summer season. So it wasn't...
When you say gigs, like DJing?
Yeah, and on my things on the mic, I used to work there with a guy called Hoffa 66. He's one of the DJs there, and we used to do our nights 2 nights a week, and so that was work. Plus, I run my online business from there, and traveling around the world doing my workshops. And so it wasn't like I wasn't actually on holiday. It would have been nice. I was working really hard there, but it was an interesting time because it was the tail end of Ibiza as people knew it, when it was really innocent and it was all happening and really fun. Just before it started getting very VIP, you mentioned VIP, that whole VIP culture then kind of came in and swamped it, so that it is now really dominated by the super rich kind of party people.
Right.
And that's fine. I mean, it's a lovely reality. It's lost that creative... It's actually like round here, like in Shoreditch. in the early 90s, it was a really cheap part of town. So you had a lot of creative, artistic people living here. And then because that was a cool place to be, people with money started moving in. The prices went up. The artistic people couldn't afford to be here anymore.
Now it's just guys on podcasts.
No, but yeah, I mean, there's
Extremely good-looking guys.
extremely good-looking
With
guys.
extremely good-looking guests.
Yes, there you
Thank
go.
you.
Right.
But yeah, I guess Ibiza, I mean, like, Pash out Ibiza used to be, I guess, in the 80s and 90s, kind of something that you kind of had to know about and know people to go. And now it's a place where people in London will book the VIP tickets
Yeah.
and they kind of go in, and it's just changed a bit, right?
Well, the whole world, I think. That's true for the
Where's
whole
the
world.
new Ibiza? Where's the new Ibiza in your opinion?
There isn't one. There is nowhere like Ibiza.
No.
There never will be.
I heard Ayanipo was supposed to be like.
Yeah, but it's not.
Ibiza has. Have you been to Ibiza?
No, I've always wanted to.
I never saw it in the old days. I think I first went there 5 years ago, but I went there with a buddy of mine from New York, and he was expecting like this, the things you used to see on TV, like, you know, British people in Ibiza on, you know, San Antonio or something falling down the streets. And when we both got there, we were just surprised by like this good vibe, like kind of just happy hippie energy. Like it felt like something like the 60s or 70s. It wasn't like everyone trying to just get completely messed up. It was just, I don't know, the whole island has this really good vibe about it.
Yeah, but you weren't in San Antonio, I take
No, I
it.
wasn't.
Yeah, well, that's why.
Okay. But it was really different. And I felt like
Yeah.
a lot of love in that place. And I don't know if you could replicate it.
I guess it's like it's this ultimate. It's like Disneyland for grown-ups, right? That's the way I think of Ibiza. It's where people can just go and forget their drudgerous everyday life and just party.
I'd say that's what you think it is, or
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what
that's what
I'd
I
say.
think it is,
That's
yeah.
what Vegas is, but I think it's something different. But well, you live there. I mean, what is it like?
Well, it's really the people who live there. It's an island of black sheep. So it's people who were similar to me, or I imagine you two as well, kind of vaguely anarchistically minded and not really conformist. All go and live together on an island, and then it becomes quite conformist because you know there are no more black sheep, and so it's actually quite a moralistic society. I found, strangely, it's not as liberal as it looks, but you know, in a kind of a formalised way, there is liberalism. You know, there's swingers clubs and there's this and there's that, but it's all quite structured, really.
Okay.
But I think the whole world's become like that, really. But it is beautiful. It's a beautiful island. It's only a very little bit of it that's built up, relatively. Most of it's just quite gorgeous. It's a gorgeous place. And there are very, very lovely people there, but they're busy. I mean, in the summer, everyone's pretty busy doing the season.
Right.
And in the winter, everybody's completely steamrolled or leave the island. So it's kind of a funny place. It's extremes. It's either really quiet or really noisy. Mm-hmm. But Maytime is my favourite there. It's just when things are just about starting up again. And it hasn't really kicked in yet. The season hasn't opened yet. Space opening's on the 20th, roughly. And then the weather's beautiful and it's not too crowded. There's not traffic jams everywhere. Then May, it's gorgeous. I love May in Ibiza. That's what I've learned from living in different places. There's certain months are great to be in certain places.
Yeah, I think
that's quite a cool viewpoint.
I think Nick and I were talking about that. We were talking that January was the one maybe not to be in London.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Find
I'm not
another
going to
place
be here
to
in
be.
January. I'm just
You
telling you
won't.
now, buddy.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
You know, Stephen, something I ask a lot of successful people I meet sometime, and I'm just wondering, I mean, you know, you've done a lot of things, you've lived a lot of places, you've written books, and, you know, you've obviously done a lot with your healing medicine, but, you know, do you ever get to a point where you're like, where do I go next? I know you're about to do the big Om, and you said this is probably one of the bigger things you've done.
The biggest.
I mean, do you find you'd like to keep pushing yourself, or how do you find you deal with it? We wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, I'm the Barefoot Doctor. You know, how do you go from there?
Well, I mean, the thing is that the Big Om is the biggest thing I've ever done. And so I've been building up to it for 30 years. I had the vision for it 30 years ago. Yeah. And I mean, that just is all consuming. And so there's no question about being motivated. I want to run away sometimes and just disappear, okay. But most of the time I'm just totally motivated, and that's it. I just want to do that. I have fantasies about what it might be like after I've gone around the world doing a few stadium events like this, which is to disappear into the mountains and just sit there very quietly, and then get involved making a bit of music and getting involved with collaborative projects and not caring very much. But I doubt it'll be like that because I'm on a mission. You know, I want to make the world happy. That's my genuinely.
I guess my question, because like the work that you do is almost the dissipation of your ego, but yet you almost have to have an ego to take on a project.
Such an interesting viewpoint, Brian.
Right. Because you must think about, okay, I mean, I said earlier, wow, you've got time until this happens. And you're like, no, it's around the corner, and it's 9 months ago from now. But it's your reputation and it's everything about yourself. So
Brian and I were just speaking about this at lunch today. I said to Brian, you know, there's a time to let go and just flow with the Tao, and there's also a time to hustle. You know, there's a time to make things happen. And for me, something that I'm struggling with in life, I think you might be similar, Brian, is that I'm trying to figure out, maybe that's the ultimate thing that you have to figure out in life, is when to do which one. Do you have any tips on how, like...
How do you mix that? Because obviously this is all about you on the 12th to a certain extent, but maybe it isn't.
Well, no, it's not. It's about the people who'll be there. That's what it's about the event. It's definitely about the event. The event has a spirit of its own, and it's about serving the event. I'm just the guy who's serving it. I'm not. It's not about me.
So you don't want to let down the event, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And and also all the people I'm going to be working with as well. Right. But yes, I also am constantly looking at this. Should I be pushing now or yielding, sticking to it or yielding? And the Tai Chi metaphor is very interesting because they talk about 4 ounces or 110 grams, that is, of pressure applied at all times. So you know what you want. You've got an intention for a particular outcome. And then you let go and you allow the Tao, the flow of things, to bring you the people and opportunities you need to make this thing occur, which it invariably does in its strange higgledy-piggledy way. But you stick to the events as they're happening with 4 ounces. You never push on it with more than 4 ounces. You don't put 5 ounces on, and you don't put 3 ounces on because that's not enough. You've got to be making love with it, basically, in a really beautiful way, constantly, or dancing with it. And then sometimes the pressure builds up against you, which it inevitably will at times, and then you yield to it, and so you don't let it impact on you with more than 4 ounces. So if a punch is coming to the right side of your face, you turn that side, but your left hand's already coming around to punch them back. You use that force that you're yielding with to stick back to it again. But always with 4 ounces, so you never kind of go like that with it. You try and keep it really light. And that gives a bit of a better indication about when to push and when to yield. Because, like if you're on the mat with somebody and you're fighting, the force is coming at you at times. And instinctively, you've got to yield to that. You don't kind of resist it because it wouldn't be... And when it's time to take advantage and move in and do your thing. It becomes instinctual after a while.
That's something
what martial arts is all about, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's knowing when to yield and when to resist, right? Yeah, exactly what you said. Wow, that was a cool metaphor.
Yeah, that's a very good metaphor.
Oh, good.
And what are the other challenges for this year besides that production?
I'm rebuilding my main website at the moment, barefootdoctorworld.com, which is I've been putting off for 8 years now, and it's like when you've got a room in the house that you just keep putting stuff in and you never tidy it. You think one day I'm gonna have to tidy that one, and this has been the year that I've actually had to do it. I just couldn't stop. Anyway, I'm doing that, and it's a huge job going on behind the scenes of this because it's a massive website. So that's quite a big challenge because it means a lot of concentration.
It looked very intricate, but I couldn't get the message in 30 seconds from that website.
Well, that's the problem with it. Yeah, it's messy.
And so it's probably 8 years. That's a long time to even have a website.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's been since 1997 originally, my first website, the first version.
We just found out today that YouTube's only been going since 2006.
You did.
Yeah. Oh, you knew that already?
I did know that.
Wow.
Okay. I just found that out. Wow. And the thing is, it's so ingrained in our everyday life.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's been there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
So my biggest challenge, I think, is being congruent with the culture, rather, because being like the shaman type figure, you can't really be with the herd. It's the way of the shaman to be the weirdo, the freak, or whatever, that's somehow away from the herd. It has to be that way. You have to come back and go, look, guys, try this way. Hey, you call from a distance, come over here. Look, this is good. And eventually, bit by bit, the people start coming. And then you have something to offer. And that's kind of what it's like for me now. I suppose this is the time for that to be happening. And it's being congruent and having the compassion and the empathy to feel into what people are going through so I can really give it, really serve properly. It's hard that. I mean, wherever I go, I'm doing workshops and stuff. People tell me their stories. There's so much suffering. There's so much pain in the world. There really is. Everyone's got a story going on. And it's like always finding the key that will unlock that to make it more beautiful for everyone. That's my challenge.
And so that key is?
I think, well, firstly, it's everything we've been talking about, really. It's the knowing that we are not this. We are actually what I would call divine beings. And you could say we're like fallen angels, in human form. And to know you're not this local personality, to know that if you let go and trust, the universe will support you. That if you're original in your thinking, if you're bold enough to make life into an adventure and not try and live it to please other people, that the universe will support you. Life will. It's like a fairy tale, and it will support you. And I think most importantly is that we are all in this together. You know, we're all brothers and sisters, spiritual brothers and sisters on this planet, and it's not a finite resource. And we need to learn to trust each other a bit more and to play with each other a bit nicer, really, is what it is. And so it's like learning, and everybody has a beautiful aspect to them. And it's just somehow letting that come through, not being afraid to let your beauty shine, your kindness, your caring, because we've all got it. And the more we, just a little bit, only 5% difference will change the whole world. Maybe it's just to relax more. Maybe it's just that simple. If everybody relaxes a little bit more.
It is a cumulative effect. I mean, if everyone just does that little, that 1% or that 2%, or if everyone did a bit of meditation, it would be cumulative, and it would change everything, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's happening. I do think that's actually occurring.
There's a shift. I wanted to ask you, you lived with a Native American tribe, is that correct?
Yeah.
And you did a bunch of shamanistic practices. Did any of those involve peyote or any other psychedelics?
Yeah, I mean, I have taken pretty much every psychedelic that there is. Yeah, and I owe a lot to those experiences. I don't recommend them, especially not these days, because they don't seem to be relevant somehow to me now necessarily. But that's just me.
Maybe you've transcended them.
Yeah, for me, I've got the message, and I couldn't speak for other people. I just worry for people taking stuff unguided, because it can be dangerous, for sure. But I owe a lot personally to those experiences, and yeah, they were very profound. I don't have a feeling that it would make me puke to take any psychedelics now. I just don't want it. I'm living in a psychedelic reality now, you know.
Yeah, I believe that by talking to him.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Guys, we're basically almost up here.
Brian, should we tell the people about Alpha Brain?
We'll give a shout out to Onnit Labs, which are our sponsor. Actually, Stephen had one. I'm sure you haven't felt it yet. But
no, I have actually. I'm starting to. Yes, an enlivening effect on the brain.
Well, that's a great one right there. But it's a nootropic, Alpha Brain. I take it. I'm on 2 a day right now, and it just kind of livens things up a bit. There's no caffeine in there, so there's no crash or anything. But those are the makers of Onnit at onnit.com. If you go there and use the code name London Real, you get 10% off. They've also got something called Shroom Tech, which I use for heavy workouts, martial arts works. It's the cordyceps mushroom.
That's a great product.
You've been taking some straight cordyceps as well, right?
I'll never stop taking that. It makes me feel so good.
I might give some of that to Stephen on the way out, but that's that. So they just make a few supplements that we really like, and check them out. And I don't know what else. Do you have any closing comments?
That was one cool cat, right?
This is some science has been dropped.
Some science has been dropped.
I'm taking some things away. I love the 8 steps for meditation. I think a lot of people can take. I'm already was like thinking about them, and the 4 ounces. I'm going to be thinking about that.
I was thinking, that is a great thing. I'm thinking about the party on 12/12/12.
Oh, yeah, that will be good. Yeah. So it's thebigom.org.
Yeah,
and we'll flash it on the screen. Check it out. There's limited seating with only 14,000, right?
Sure, 12,000. You got to hurry, and they're going fast.
I believe you. Well, all the best with that.
Thank you.
And
thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. It's been beautiful.
Yeah, fantastic. All right.
It's about the journey.
It's about the journey, man. Take care, guys.
Wow.
Nice.
Expanding.
Now, some people think that 2012 is the end of the world. Others think that it's the beginning of a new golden era for humanity. I'm one of the latter camp. And this event is going to be a portal into the new golden era for humanity, a healing for the world. And it'll be conducted through sound, so picture this.